Hello everyone, it's X Rostro here. I want to do an update video on my impressions on the DualSense Edge now that I've had 2 years and 5 months with the controller just about. So it released January 26th of 2023. It's been a while, and to be honest, I've really liked the controller a lot. Now that doesn't mean I don't have my gripes, right? Like at the very beginning when I got the control, I posted a video, and one of my first impressions with that was that the sticks were a little bit sticky sounding. You may be able to hear that now. Let's see. So after all this time, that doesn't bother me at all. I believe it might actually end up just being the sticks are extra lubricated, but of course that I don't know 100%, but it does sound, I don't know, it's very satisfying now. They glide very smoothly, no issues on my end whatsoever. And as for the buttons, this was a major thing for me. So when you take it out of the box, you expect a very premium feel to it, not any kind of, I don't know, odd sounds, maybe even more satisfying sounding than the original, right? So the buttons had like this very crunchy sound to them, but now after some time it seems like they've broken in, and that definitely sounds a whole lot better, a lot nicer, and they just have a really good feel to them. So no complaints. And my general setup over here would be having these curved paddles here on the back. Of course on the inside you know how you have the various other like accessories and such, but typically, since it is one of those things that you can customize, usually when you have the controller the way that you would like, you're not going to really mess around with it too much. I personally don't use these smaller pieces right here, but of course they're to each their own. Some of them, someone might like them. But yes, the carrying case, I personally don't see myself using this longer cable, but I'm sure other people will. So it's not something that I really use. It's good to have options. You can see I opted for the domed instead of the ones that it came with, which I believe were these rounded ones right here, these like half dome with like the curve on the edge right there. But other than that, the controller is great. I do find that it's a bit heavy. Not that that's a bad thing for some people, right? This is just personal opinion. So some people might appreciate a heavier controller when compared to the original over here. And another thing is, you might have heard just a second ago, but maybe it's just because of them being magnetic, right? Which is not a bad feature. I really appreciate how easy it is to swap them in and out. But sometimes when you're holding the controller like this, you're into a game, you accidentally move and then it might jump, something like that. Or, you know, just minor things. Not a very big deal at all. Now, a big improvement that I do see between the DualSense and the DualSense Edge is actually the headphone jack right here. So the headphone jack itself seems to be what I believe is a better quality. Let me just use this other one over here so I don't have to pull that apart. So this one actually goes in a lot smoother. See, glides in and out, nice and easy, no problem. When compared to the regular DualSense, this one normally struggles a little bit. You can see, it actually tends to get stuck, like snared a little bit there at the end. But no, perfectly fine. I actually prefer the headphone jack on the DualSense Edge. Nice little like upgrade, I can say, in quality, but it feels great. I definitely recommend the controller 100%, especially if you want to be able to use it for a lot longer, especially with the swappable joysticks. I haven't seen any kind of news on it yet, but hopefully someone does end up creating joystick replacements for the DualSense Edge that are Hall effect, so that way they last a little bit longer in case some of you have already gone through the regular joysticks that are on the controller. The Hall effect joysticks, like some of you may know, are actually using magnetic sensors on the inside, so that way you don't have to worry about the current setup on these joysticks, which uses friction to be able to tell what the turning point is and such, to eventually wear out on you. And then of course that's what causes stick drift, and it just ruins the experience, makes you spend like another $60-70 on controllers and such, and yeah, the whole thing. Yeah, hopefully they do end up spending some time on that, but that is my review at the time. Oh, one other thing as well. One thing I picked up on is that I'm assuming over time it starts to bubble here. So it starts to bubble right here, but maybe it's due to maybe grip on the controller and such. You can see right there it's bubbling as well. I don't know, it's very, what can I call it? It's not very visually appealing. I've tried to push out the bubbles along the edge over here, but it doesn't seem to work. It's just kind of starting to pull out the plastic right there. So it seems like whatever glue they were using before, it's starting to wear out, but it is what it is. This being their first attempt at a Pro controller that I can think of, it's a pretty good, pretty good first try. So no real complaints. but some minor fixes that they could make. Now, one other thing that I wanted to include is the battery life, that being a big topic, of course, when it comes to controllers. The battery life, I mean, thankfully I have 2 controllers here, so I can always swap between them. For play sessions, it's definitely not really great for long play sessions, but at least they give you a longer cable to kind of compensate for that, so you can charge it and use it at the same time. That is one thing that I hope that they can improve on in the future, for sure, the battery life. But I appreciate your time, guys. Thank you so much.